indelible mark on photographic history. Born in New York City, he first picked up a camera in the early 1960s, setting him on a path to become one of his generation's most influential photographers. His pictures have helped shape the genre of street photography. His iconic images of city streets taken in the 1960s and 70s have become synonymous with the energy and diversity of the urban landscape. And perhaps most notably, they were all taken in color. Throughout his career, he has published numerous books, held exhibitions worldwide, and received prestigious awards, including the Guggenheim Fellowship and the National Endowment for the Arts Grant. His work is held in institutional collections globally, including the V&A's. So everybody, please join me in welcoming Lorenzo and Joel for what will surely be a fascinating conversation.
Shall we begin? Well, first of all, before we start, let me thank the V&A for this warm welcome that we received, and the people at Damiani Books that helped us publishing the pleasure to see you. I'll start with a little story, your story actually. The story you always tell, because you probably, most of you know how Joel started his career in photography when he was a young man. In 1962, 24-year-old graphic designer who was sent on an assignment by his boss to work with a photographer, and that photographer was nobody else than Robert Frank. Of course, Joel didn't know who Robert Frank was, and I'm sorry to tell your story, but you've told it a number of times. Let me see how I do. So you saw him working, and it was an epiphany, a revelation, almost a messianic revelation. You saw this man moving so comfortably with the camera and just chipping time. The right moment where the peak movement of the models would appear. And that was an epiphany for your revelation, because in that exact moment you decided that you had to become a photographer. You had to leave your job, and in fact, the story goes that you quit the very same day. You went back to his boss, Harry Gordon, and said, "Harry, the shooting was great, I'm quitting."
I'm changing. Sometimes, from a male point of view, you might be on the street, and a woman turns the corner and you realize there goes the love of your life, and you didn't run after her. So that's sort of a comic aspect of it. But, I was an athlete as a young man. I played baseball and I swam. And these were two sports that required instantaneous reaction. When that gun went off to start the swim, you had to leave the platform just at the second you thought that the gun was going to go off, so that you would be in the air. And the film at the lab, he turned up to process his films, and we looked at our slides side by side. That's Tony. That's Tony. And we have the screen here. And so we sort of just decided to hang out together, and we used the parades. You can go back a picture or two, flash backwards. We used the parades as a kind of camouflage so that we could learn how to frame the picture, how to make the right timing, how to get close to next to a Robert Frank. And I felt, there's no describing how I felt that in the course of the year, I might have occupied a space in relation to a photograph of Robert Frank that made sense when you saw them when you moved back and forth between the two. So John made this kind of ligature between two things. Maybe less so for them, but certainly for me it was joyous to be at an event, Longchamp in Paris, with big rays, everybody's dressed up, and a gust of wind comes along, and suddenly everybody's racing around with the hat, holding their clothes down. And in that moment, it was splendid, and to be able to anticipate, to feel the wind and the temperature of the wind, and to be smelling the flowers